I'm sure you all know that my dad grew up in a house built by his father from a Sears starter kit in Topeka, Kansas. He was one of 9. The next person I'm going to introduce grew up in the same house, was one of 8. My dad's niece, Patricia Mack.
I wrote mine down. I hope I get through it. Okay, everybody should know this one. I love the way that he said my name. Patricia! How you doing? How's Jesse? How's the kids? How's Jonathan? What's Jonathan? Christopher? Jessica? Toy? What they been doing? I didn't even get the answer out. And he started on to another story. And if he was in person and said it, he would also include this huge, enormous hug, a great big smile, and a big hearty laugh. And that's what I will always treasure. Whew. Uncle Earl always stayed in touch with us. He always would keep us up to date on everything. I love that him and Mama and Aunt Eleanor were all so close. They came to dance at our weddings. They came to the open house for Mom when we built a new house. And they were there for her 90th birthday party. It was always a celebration and a joy to have them there. He would always say, y'all little girls, y'all are something else. Man, y'all know how to get it done. Mama always told us that she and Uncle Earl always had to share a birthday cake because their birthdays were so close together. So today is Mama's birthday. And I can just imagine them being together again today, celebrating their birthdays once again. And the last thing I want to say is, I have to do a Mama saying, because she always had so many. She would say, we weren't really poor. We just didn't have a lot of money. She said, but the one thing that we did have, we were rich in love. Amen. And what I can say to that is, Uncle Earl displayed it as well. We loved it. We loved him. We loved everything about him. We stayed so connected, and we'll always have those memories to treasure. That's it. Thank you.
So when my dad was 11 years old, his 13-year-old sister, my Aunt Barbara, woke him up in the middle of the night and said, "Wake up, Earl! I think Mama's having another baby." My Aunt Barbara was a big influence on my dad. And another one of her daughters is here to say a little something about her Uncle Earl. My dad's niece, Debbie Dirden.
Hello, I'm Debbie, and I'm the oldest of 4 girls, and then there's 4 boys as well. But I had a special connection to Uncle Earl, and that was, I was his godchild. I didn't even know it. That's sad when you don't even know you're the godchild. But it wasn't until I was much older that I realized that I was, because he would tell me he was my godfather. And the thing that's so special about that is he treated everyone the same. So, you know, most godfathers, godmothers, they have that special connection and they give them extra things for birthday. I didn't get that stuff. I got a dog. And it was actually the family dog, and that his name was Bobby. And when I talked to Uncle Earl about the dog, he said he sent it on a train, I believe, to Kansas. We lived in Kansas, and I think he was in Denver at the time, someplace, you know. And he said he didn't even ask his sister, my mom, or if we could have the dog. But when it arrived, we of course got to keep the dog. And it was great. Even back then, I didn't realize it was my dog, it was everybody's dog. So he was special like that, in that he treated everyone the same. And I really appreciated the fact that we grew up in Topeka. All of Mom's brothers and sisters had left, and some of them vowed they would never come back to Kansas. And some did not come back until we had a reunion in 1987. And that was because the oldest sister said, oh, we're having the reunion in Kansas because I get to pick, because she was the oldest. And so it was really great to have a connection with Uncle Earl, because as everyone else left, Uncle Earl and Aunt Eleanor and Aunt Miriam, but mainly Uncle Earl and Aunt Eleanor, they didn't leave us behind. Uncle Earl would come driving through Kansas with his skis on his Volkswagen, right? It was his Bud. And he would drive through, he would stop, he would stay at our house, and remember there were 8 of us. And there wasn't enough room for 8 of us. And then he would come and he'd sleep on that couch with his feet hanging off the edge. But I remember him playing with us. We played horseshoes, and I'm sure probably cards and all, but he was that family connection, because we grew up with no grandparents that we knew. My father's mother was the only grandparent we had, and she lived in New Orleans and never visited us, and we didn't ever go there. So we didn't have that family connection that everybody else has. So we were really kind of jealous. So I always wondered about our family, who they were, where they come from, and all of that. So I started doing genealogy when I was about 12. And I started finding out so many things that nobody knew, because even Uncle Earl and Eleanor and my mom, they were all born after their grandparents had died, for the most part, so they didn't know anything either. But within, I guess, maybe the last 2 or 3 years, I started searching in newspapers.com to see if anything showed up on any of the brothers, the sisters, the parents, and so forth. And all of a sudden, I plugged in Earl. And I mean, there's so much out there. And I would find out that Earl, all that skiing, that we thought he was just on vacation or something, that in, I want to say it was 1960, there was the Olympics in California, and there were no blacks on the skiing team, and somebody recommended that Earl be on the team. Well, I guess he knew how to play well enough, but, you know, to ski well enough. But when I would send Uncle Earl these articles, he would say, he'd call, Debbie, where'd you find this stuff? Oh my gosh, where did you get this? And it was so exciting to see him, glad that, you know, I was researching him, finding all kinds of things about him. But the one thing that I really enjoyed, that he was family. He wanted everybody to be close, connected, and even though in 1987 we had our first family reunion in Topeka, and poor Uncle Earl wasn't able to go because he was out of the country with his job. But he came to weddings in Houston, and so my kids got to know him. He came to, like she said, birthday parties. They would just come for visits. He and Uncle and Aunt Eleanor would come, and we'd have the greatest time. And then when we had the reunion here, we did a lot of research, found out a lot of things to add to the history. But I realized that, you know, family was everything to me, mainly because I didn't know the family that much, but it was he who brought us so close together. Because if nobody else knew how to contact a cousin, Uncle Earl knew how to hunt down anybody. And he would pass you the number, and then we made connections. And then when my two youngest sons, who were professional actors, started acting, he came to their plays. And because we did it here in DC, they took the bus, right, to New Jersey, and they saw the kids perform there. They watched him on TV, and what would be so funny, Uncle Earl's hearing was so bad that he'd say, I don't know a darn thing he was saying, but he looked good. So I just love that excitement that he had for anybody, actually, but mainly for family. And he wanted us to always be close. And so at the last reunion, they did a ceremony and they talked about passing on the torch to the next generation. And so, you know, we had to accept it, but I really do accept it. And I want our family to be, you know, just like he wanted it, to where we all come together, we get along, and children, grandchildren, and so forth, so they won't grow up like we grew up, not knowing. And the last thing, it was, I asked my husband if he were gonna say something, what would he say about Uncle Earl? Because he loved all of our husbands and wives. He got along with everybody, friends, neighbors, outcasts, everybody. And so my husband said, he would say, it was a joy to be in his presence. Thank you.